The FIA is dropping more news on our heads, but this time it is much better than it was before. And that already got aired out and blown over as I thought it would with the whole entire Toto and Susie situation. The only thing there is Mercedes is looking to actually sue them, which could possibly happen. But the bigger news for our sport going into the newer regulations in 2026, teams cannot undertake any wind tunnel or CFD work for the new spec cars until the 1st of January 2025. Now this is very big news, and it gives us a lot of things to talk about which teams will benefit, why this is beneficial for the sport, and also talking about the influence that Mercedes has. As I'm getting into the video, thank you so much for the support. Please like and subscribe if you are new here. It means the world to me. You guys are the best. Let's continue into talking about this new thing coming out. So with this new Aero testing rule where you can't test before 2025 essentially, what does this mean? So the actual CFD, what is CFD? Well, CFD is a branch of fluid mechanics and practically just means the use of the simulated airflow around the car to evaluate its aerodynamic performance. That's essentially what you need to know when they say no CFD work is allowed to be done up until 2025. They do say, with the exception of dyno testing, aim to develop brake system components, so like the little brake ducts and so on, but actual body parts like the side pods and the floor and the underfloor and so on, you get the point, with the front wing and rear wing, that is not actually been able to be tested. Now, they couldn't test this anyways because we did get some renders of the 2026 car, what is supposed to be the official 2026 car, but there isn't anything in writing yet saying what the exact rules are for 2026. Till these teams have it in writing, they won't know what the loopholes are or what actually needs to be done on the car to make it a legal car. Teams read these regulation rules like it means the world to them, and genuinely they go ham at it because you actually have to be focused in and know exactly how the wording is to get around certain things. Aston Martin tried it with the front wing, but then they went down on it. Every team has tried it in one way or another. That's how we ended up getting some crazy innovations. Now, we haven't really had that yet in 2022. Well, we did have the whole entire floor thing, but that wasn't really much of it that got replaced because of porpoising and so on. But there wasn't actually like a huge thing around that. We haven't actually had that crazy innovation. It's just been Red Bull so insane on the floor, but nothing there has been a loophole, at least to what we know of. Teams love to use these regulations to the max to actually get the most out of their car. But this helps teams. Now, what teams does this help? This will be super helpful for Williams. Williams is probably the #1 team that needs something like this. I would say Haas, but nobody could help them. I think if LeBron James was on that team, it wouldn't help them. Obviously, that is a basketball player, but you get the joke that I'm saying. Nobody can help this team. Butter shredders, not been there, constantly fall back, throw away a year to throw away another year. But regardless of the Haas team, theoretically, it should help Haas. It should help Haas, Williams, and I guess if you want to say Sauber, even though Sauber has an extremely good wind tunnel, the team is just always lackluster and behind. And I guess you can say Racing Bulls get helped out here as well, because these are the lower end teams, so they don't have really the personnel and the amount of people to be working on two cars at the same time. Mercedes, Aston Martin working its way up to be a big team. McLaren is a big team. I mean, Aston and McLaren are pretty much big teams. They're not there just yet, but they are pretty close. Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull all kind of, I guess you can say, get hurt by this. Not really. The actual rule itself doesn't hurt a single team. It now levels out the playing field going into 2026. When new regulations arrive, the best thing you can do is have a clean slate, because it allows for now every single team to jump up. It doesn't mean that one team will have an advantage because their car was so dominant in 25 and 24 that they could have been working on 26 car already. It now makes every single team work from then on. And teams that want to really push for the title in 2025 might have to take a sacrifice. It's a good thing. It's a good thing for any fan of the sport. Now, this regulation kind of came in a weird time because Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton was adamant on wanting this to happen. And I think people are going to look at that and be like, oh, Mercedes got their way, this and this.
Yeah, I think the FIA should probably put a time when everyone's allowed to start developing on the next year's car. So August 1st, that's when everybody can start, you know, so that no one can get an advantage on the next year, because that sucks.
I get it. Honestly, I'm not wearing the hat because Mercedes is my favorite team on the planet. I like Mercedes, but no biasness here. Mercedes does have a little bit of favoritism in Formula One, at least when they were dominating. Now it seems like Red Bull, the team that's dominating, the team that brings in the most revenue, will always have a little bit of favoritism. Does this really favor Mercedes? No, it favors Williams, it favors Haas, the teams that I named, the lower end teams. The bigger teams don't benefit from this because it doesn't do anything. These are regulations that people will be working on throughout the years anyways, but now actually regulating it to where every team will have to start at a specific time, it is a good thing. It can only be a good thing that every team now has an even chance going at it. If Red Bull was able to, which they 100% would have been able to, work on this a whole year in advance, it wouldn't really be fair. They're new regulations. The same could be said for Mercedes working on if they had a dominant car in 21 going into 22. It's fair. I'm glad that they implemented this. I know that it came upon the word of Lewis Hamilton and that favoritism is definitely there, but it is a good thing all around for the sport. In my personal opinion, it's good. They can obviously still work on the engines. The engines is not what's being actually tested here, but the aero kits themselves in the wind tunnel, that is not allowed to be done. So what they do with the engines, nobody can really stop that. And I think in that way it is fair because every team is working on those. Nobody's really late to those. Supposedly Mercedes is the strongest in that, so maybe they're using that to their advantage. Red Bull is supposedly really close though too, so these are all rumors that are being thrown around. I wouldn't really go with these. And I've brought them up before. It's not really the biggest thing to be concerned about, but it brings upon a more even grid, and I think it will bring better fighting. It does mean, though, that teams could come into 2026 looking completely wrong. It could throw that out there as well, but let's hope for a much closer grid because the grid right now is very close. I do think in 24 we'll have a very close grid, and it makes 24 and 25 just that much more valuable because now you really got to push and more updates will be coming out. It's better for our sport in the short run and the long run. Believe me on this, I think we will actually come to enjoy this regulation being put out. It's the only thing FIA has really been doing good lately. They did do the good things with Andretti and wanting an 11 theme, but that's a talking point for another video. So thank you guys so much for enjoying the video and liking and subscribing. Please do that if you haven't. You guys mean the world, and peace.